The year was 1974. It was a time of change and turmoil in America, with the Watergate scandal and the end of the Vietnam War dominating the headlines. Yet, in a quiet corner of Long Island, a different kind of horror was about to unfold. A chill settled upon the quiet Long Island neighborhood of Amityville. The streets, usually filled with the sounds of children playing and neighbors chatting, were eerily silent. The air was thick with an unspoken tension, as if the very atmosphere knew that something terrible had happened. At 112 Ocean Avenue, a Dutch colonial house stood silent. Its windows, dark and foreboding, seemed to watch over the neighborhood like eyes that had seen too much. The house, with its distinctive gambrel roof and eerie presence, was a stark contrast to the other homes on the street. Behind its windows, a horror had unfolded. The walls, now silent, had once echoed with the sounds of terror and despair. The rooms, now empty, had witnessed unspeakable acts of violence. The house, once a home, had become a tomb. The DeFeo family, a picture of suburban normalcy, was gone. They had been a typical American family with hopes and dreams, joys and sorrows, but now, their lives had been brutally cut short, leaving behind only memories and unanswered questions. 6 souls were ripped away in a single night. The father, mother, and 4 children all found dead in their beds. The crime scene, with its blood-stained walls and eerie silence, was a testament to the brutality of the act. The candles lit in their memory flickered in the darkness, casting long shadows on the walls. Their killer, Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son, a young man with a troubled past and a dark future. His mugshot, with its cold, emotionless eyes, became the face of the tragedy. The question on everyone's mind was, why? What could drive a son to commit such a heinous act? The murders sent shockwaves through America. The headlines screamed of the horror in Amityville, and the nation was gripped by the story. News anchors with somber faces reported on the gruesome details, and the public, both horrified and fascinated, couldn't look away. How could such a thing happen? The community, once tight-knit and trusting, was now filled with suspicion and fear. Neighbors looked at each other with questioning eyes, wondering if they had missed any signs. The shadow of doubt loomed large, and the sense of security was shattered. The story, a grotesque tapestry of family secrets and unimaginable violence, became a morbid fascination. The media delved into the DeFeo family's past, uncovering tales of dysfunction and discord. The public, hungry for answers, devoured every detail, turning the tragedy into a macabre spectacle. But the killings were only the beginning. The house, with its dark history, seemed to take on a life of its own. Stories of strange occurrences and unexplained phenomena began to surface, adding another layer of horror to the already chilling tale. The house on Ocean Avenue held a darkness that refused to die. It became a magnet for those drawn to the macabre, and its reputation as a haunted house grew. The new owners, hoping for a fresh start, found themselves trapped in a nightmare. It was a darkness that would soon consume others. The Lutz family, who moved in shortly after the murders, claimed to experience terrifying paranormal activity. Their story, filled with ghostly apparitions and demonic forces, captured the imagination of the public and cemented the house's place in the annals of horror. The stage was set for one of the most enduring and terrifying haunting stories in American history. Books were written, movies were made, and the legend of the Amityville Horror was born. The line between fact and fiction blurred, and the house became a symbol of ultimate fear, a story that blurred the lines between reality and nightmare. The events at 112 Ocean Avenue became a cultural phenomenon, a cautionary tale of the unknown and the unknowable. The house, with its dark past and haunted present, continues to captivate and terrify, a story that continues to haunt us to this day. The legend of the Amityville Horror lives on, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. The house on Ocean Avenue stands as a testament to the enduring power of fear, a place where the past is never truly dead. The DeFeo family seemed like any other. They were a typical American family living in the suburbs, with dreams, hopes, and the usual ups and downs of family life. They had their moments of joy and their moments of strife, but nothing that seemed out of the ordinary to the outside world. There was Ronald DeFeo Sr., the patriarch, a stern man with a volatile temper. He was known for his strict discipline and his unyielding expectations. His presence was commanding, and his word was law within the household. Yet beneath his stern exterior there were whispers of deeper troubles, of a man struggling with his own demons. Louise, his wife, tried to keep the peace, She was the glue that held the family together, always trying to smooth over the rough edges and maintain a semblance of harmony. Her worried expression often betrayed the tension that simmered beneath the surface, but she remained steadfast in her role as the family's caretaker. They had 5 children: Ronald Jr., Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John Matthew. Each child had their own unique personality and dreams. Ronald Jr., the eldest, was often at odds with his father, while Dawn, the eldest daughter, sought to carve out her own path. Allison, Mark, and John Matthew were the younger ones, still finding their way in the world. But behind the facade of normalcy, a darkness festered. The family was plagued by internal conflicts and unspoken fears. The house itself seemed to hold a sinister presence, as if the walls could whisper secrets of the turmoil within. Neighbors would occasionally sense something amiss, but no one could have predicted the horror that was about to unfold. The night of November 13, 1974, unfolded with horrifying precision. It was a night like any other, with the family settling into their evening routines, unaware of the impending doom. The full moon cast eerie shadows across the house, adding to the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. Ronald Jr., fueled by alcohol and a growing rage, grabbed his father's .35 caliber rifle. His mind was clouded with anger and resentment, a toxic mix that had been brewing for years. The weight of the rifle in his hand seemed to solidify his dark intentions, and he moved with a chilling determination. One by one, he stalked his family members in their sleep. The house was eerily silent, save for the soft creaks of the floorboards under his feet. He moved like a shadow, his presence barely detectable as he approached each bedroom. The innocence of sleep made his victims all the more vulnerable. His parents, his brothers, his sisters, all fell victim to his murderous rampage. The once peaceful home was now a scene of unimaginable horror. The bodies lay as if still in the embrace of sleep, but the violent end they met was all too evident. The family that once shared laughter and love was now united in death. The silence of the night was shattered by the deafening roar of gunshots. But no one came. No one heard. The neighborhood, usually so attuned to the slightest disturbance, remained oblivious to the tragedy unfolding within the DeFeo home. The walls of 112 Ocean Avenue seemed to absorb the sounds, keeping the horror contained within. The screams were swallowed by the walls of 112 Ocean Avenue. The house, once a place of refuge and comfort, had become a silent witness to the atrocity. The creaking stairs and empty hallways now held the echoes of a family's final moments, a haunting reminder of the violence that had taken place. Ronald Jr. fled the scene, desperately trying to create an alibi. His mind raced as he concocted stories to cover his tracks, hoping to evade suspicion. He ran through the dark streets, his heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. But no matter how far he ran, the weight of his actions followed him. But the evidence was overwhelming. The crime scene told a story that Ronald Jr. could not escape. The bloodstains, the gun, his own inconsistent stories, it all pointed to him. The investigators pieced together the events of that fateful night, and the truth became undeniable. The bloodstains, the gun, his own inconsistent stories, it all pointed to him. The forensic evidence was damning, and the investigators' meticulous work left no room for doubt. Ronald Jr.'s attempts to mislead the authorities only served to tighten the noose around him. The house, now a tomb, held the gruesome truth. The once vibrant home was now abandoned, its windows boarded up and its yard overgrown. It stood as a grim monument to the tragedy that had occurred within its walls. The story of 112 Ocean Avenue would become infamous, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors.
I didn't act alone. There were voices, sinister voices, dark whispers that urged me to kill relentlessly. Voices that belonged to the house itself, echoing through the halls.
From the beginning, Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s defense was one of madness, of otherworldly influence and possession. During his trial, DeFeo Jr. recounted the events of that night with chilling detachment and eerie calm. He described being compelled by an unseen force, something beyond his control. He spoke of hearing his family's voices taunting him even as he pulled the trigger, unable to stop. His lawyer argued that he was possessed, driven to murder by something evil that lurked within the walls of 112 Ocean Avenue, a malevolent force. The jury, however, was unconvinced by this defense. They found him guilty of 6 counts of murder without hesitation. DeFeo Jr. was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences, a harsh punishment. But his claims of voices and dark forces lingered, haunting the public's imagination. Had he truly been a puppet, manipulated by something sinister and unseen? Or was it all a desperate attempt to escape responsibility for his horrific crimes, a final plea for mercy?
We thought it was just superstition. We laughed it off, thinking it was just another ghost story, a tale to scare children and entertain adults. We never imagined it could be real. But we were so wrong. The reality was far more terrifying than any story we had ever heard. The fear was palpable, and it consumed us.
Just over a year after the murders, the Lutz family moved into 112 Ocean Avenue. They were excited about their new beginning, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, were drawn to the house's spaciousness and the unbelievable price. It seemed like the perfect place to start anew, a dream home for their family. They knew of its history, of course, but dismissed the rumors of haunting as mere superstition. They believed that the past was the past and it couldn't harm them. They would soon learn their mistake. The house had a dark presence, something that thrived on fear and despair. Almost immediately, strange and terrifying phenomena began to plague the family. It started with small things, noises in the night, shadows that seemed to move on their own. Foul odors permeated the air. The stench was unbearable, like something rotting deep within the walls. Green slime oozed from the walls. It was a sickly, unnatural substance that defied explanation. Kathy Lutz experienced vivid nightmares, plagued by visions of the DeFeo murders. She saw the gruesome scenes in her dreams as if she were there witnessing the horror firsthand. The children claimed to see things, shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their eyes. They were terrified, unable to escape the feeling of being watched. George Lutz, a skeptic at first, found himself slowly succumbing to the growing terror. He couldn't deny the strange occurrences, the feeling of dread that hung over the house. He became increasingly erratic and withdrawn, prone to fits of rage. The house seemed to be affecting his mind, driving him to the brink of madness. The Lutz's 28-day stay at 112 Ocean Avenue became a descent into a nightmare. Each day brought new horrors, new reasons to fear for their sanity and their lives. The once welcoming house transformed into a prison of fear. It was as if the walls themselves were closing in, trapping them in a never-ending cycle of terror. They fled in terror, leaving behind most of their possessions. They couldn't stay another moment in that house, not with the evil that lurked within. They left believing that something truly evil resided within those walls. Something that fed on their fear, that thrived on their suffering, something that had driven them to the brink of madness. The Lutz family would never be the same, forever haunted by their time at 112 Ocean Avenue.